Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the BSR even. It would be good if I could actually speak at the beginning of the evening. BSR MX5 Trophy Round 2 here at Suzuka. My name is Jack Oliphant, and alongside me, as per usual for this season, is Ed May. Ed, how the devil are you?
I'm doing brilliantly, yes. Thank you very much, Jack, and it's great to be here at quite a technical layout of the Suzuka racing circuit here, the east layout. So pretty much it's only the first sector, and then you loop it all the way around again to the start-finish line. Means that the drivers need to be very good at getting that weight transfer through the car, which, as we were speaking to Andy McEwen last time out after all of the action at the amazing Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca, it was something that he was really struggling with. So we're going to see what last season's champion Kamaj here as we're already underway with qualifying.
We are indeed.
No surprise,
yes.
of course, that after the efforts put out by Jason Cooper last time out at Laguna Seca, he leads the championship with dominant performances all evening long, and he's going to look to try and extend that advantage even more here tonight.
Yes, indeed, and as you say, it's going to be a tight technical circuit, which means, I would imagine, for the reverse grid, quite difficult for drivers to get through, I imagine. But if anybody's up for the challenge, I'm sure it's the BSR MX5 group of drivers. Even though there aren't that many here today, unfortunately, we'll be able to preview, I think there's about 14 drivers who have turned up for this evening, which is a bit of a shame. But what isn't a shame is the fact that Katie Eames has turned up. And Katie says evening to Jack and Ed, evening to Katie. And she shared and liked the stream as well, so big thank you to Katie, who's been an avid watcher of Jacko Racing for about, since I started it, to be honest. I think back in the next gen days. So yeah, big thank you to Katie and everybody else who's tuning in to have a listen and a bit of a watch. Speaking of a bit of a watch, shall we have a look at a potential driver who might throw the cat amongst the pigeons? It's Max Edmondson. Now, Jeff Edmondson has given us a follow about 11 minutes ago as well, and I believe it's probably a catalyst to this. Max, I know relatively well, I would say, from his VRRC racing on a Wednesday night, which me and Andy McEwen, who we've mentioned quite a few times, and yourself, Ed, of course, have commentated on, haven't we? And Max, real-life Civic Cup driver, he's pretty handy in the MX-5s at VRRC. I imagine he'd be pretty handy here on iRacing as well.
Yeah, he's looking to be relatively good in qualifying. Interesting choice of livery. We're going to see if he will pull up with the goods here and get pole position. And it'll be very interesting to see the capybara.
That's what it is.
Largest. So I'm not sure what it's written on the back there. Something about. I've read what it says. He loves our parents, apparently, and specifically our mothers. It turns out.
Oh,
you see
I
it there
see.
just on the back end.
I won't zoom in for it then, shall I not?
It's about broadcasting. It's got a love heart. It's still broadcastable, which is always kind.
I'm gonna try. Nope, that's the wrong way, isn't it? I'll try and find a different camera angle so we can all read it, because I can't quite see it from my angle. But
if
yes,
you get on the chopper camera, we might do.
Sorry, follow.
If you get on the chopper camera, maybe the helicopter cam. Let's have a look.
Gonna be a bit difficult.
Just about make it out. A little bit tricky, but we'll move that aside for one moment as the first times are coming through. Adam Delmont to the top of the timing sheets here with a 58.86. Some of the best times we saw, though, were into the 57s. So we'll see what they can do. As Max Edmondson actually goes much quicker there than Adam Delmont by 7/10 of a second. A very quick lap. Adam Delmont responds back in kind with his own time, this time into the 57s, 57.981. It's a very short lap here. Usually the times the drivers take around about 2 or so laps to properly get the car where it needs to be. This time it might be around about 3, maybe even 4 laps.
Yeah, you need to definitely get the car up to temperature. You also need to get up to temperature as a driver as well. You need to get into a bit of a rhythm. And like you were mentioning before, Ed, it's quite a technical circuit, isn't it? And even though they were in practice for quite a substantial amount of time, you still need to sort of go out there on fresh tyres and fresh mindset to be able to go out and push the car to its absolute limit and push yourself to an absolute limit as well. Because practice is one thing. You can do that for 2 hours before a race session, or maybe an hour. I'm not entirely sure how long these sessions are here at BSR, how long the timing systems work. Oh, big snap, and that's ruined James Neve's time, hasn't it? That's a bit of a shame for him. And I think that was the 66 getting a little bit loose. Or maybe 966, I think Adam Fox. I think it was Adam Fox, yes. A bit of a shame for James Neve and, of course, Adam Fox himself. So, yeah, no quicker times coming from either of those drivers just yet.
No, I'm seeing Lars Fischer and Jason Cooper out on track together. Lars in behind championship leader Jason, who gets very, very tail happy, doesn't he? It's almost like a go-kart. You do need to kick the rear end out and carry the momentum. Going to see if that's going to help Jason Cooper to improve on his time, maybe on his position. Both of the drivers improve on their times, but not their positions. Lars Fischer, though, does close that gap down now to Adam Delmont, who will be looking to see what he can do as he's making his way to the end of his latest flying lap. You can see him now coming out of the final bend. What can the Excite Energy Racing driver manage as he breaks the timing beam? It was a nice final sector, but the first sector was certainly lacking, and sadly that is not going to be an improvement. But that final sector was absolutely electric, 3/10 quicker than Lars and Luke on that last lap.
Yeah, very quick indeed, wasn't he? And I'm sure a couple of drivers will probably be hoping to replicate that sort of feat, even though it hasn't quite worked just yet. Lynn is a driver I'm trying to focus on a little bit here, because the number 30 of the other 5-star car, obviously there's 3 now, we mentioned quite a few times last week, is not really as high up as we were expecting, and equally, Ed, not running with the teammates. It's quite interesting, because realistically, you're probably only going to get an advantage through Sector 1 over the start-finish straight, but that is about half the lap here at the Suzuka, especially for the short circuit, as Lynn jumps himself up to 7th, but it's still not really as high as we were expecting, potentially, with the 3rd of the 5-star team.
Maybe not, but I think it's all about how Huanxi wants to approach this session. A lot of times, at least from my experience, when I've done these styles of qualifying with teammates, is that we spend a little while out by ourselves just to get a rhythm in and learn the lap by yourself. You set a few times in, and then when you get to the halfway point of the session, you get your fresh pair of tyres on for that last half. You all get together and you get that draft train working to see if you can beat that time you're able to set by yourself. So we're going to see if that will happen with 5-star, and they'll all reconvene together after they do their pit stops at around about maybe the 8-minute mark or so. That tends to be when most drivers like to come in for that tyre change. Wow, that's a very good effort there from Lars Fischer. Obviously helped, of course, by his teammate, but nevertheless, that is a cracking effort to go top of the pile this stage in qualifying. But look at how close they are, all on the left-hand side of your screen there. Guanxi Lin improving by himself, so it seems to be working out for him. Just 2/10 off of pole position, and that sets him in 5th place. So nice and close up in front, as now you can see as we get to the 7.5-minute mark, to 8-minute mark. What did I say? The drivers coming in for their tyre change to have one last bite at that pole position time.
Yeah, James Clark crosses the timing beam to not improve on his position. It was an improvement on his time, but it wasn't good enough to move him up any positions. Chris Dixon, the bottom at the moment, in 12th place. Now, you may be noticing there is a distinct lack of blue on the timing screen on the left-hand side. There's a lot of green. That's pro category. In fact, without me, if you're visual, there you go. There is a lot of green, there is a little bit of yellow, but there is no blue. We only have one Pro-Am driver here signed up for this evening, and that is Dan Skinner. So, Ed, I think it's fair to say that we'll just cut this short for the evening and say congratulations to Dan Skinner for taking 4 victories, because he's done a fantastic job. He's been electric in the pace, and he's been the class of the field. But yes, he is the only driver here. But if we just sweep that aside, he's done very well.
You could say he's in a class of his own.
Oh, you could,
because he is.
You could, and we're going to.
Is. And a little bit of housekeeping. The only reason why we haven't seen him set a time in the qualifying session is not because he knows he's going to be on the Pro-Am pole, even though he will be. It's because he is serving a penalty from last time out. He's excluded from qualifying and having to start from the pits in the second race. Races 2 and 3, he can take to the grid and most likely do so, and hopefully benefit from a reverse grid potential pole position.
Not that he really needs
it. Not that he needs it, of course, but we have seen plenty of times already this season. We've only had 1 round, but Pro-Am drivers mixing it up there, up to try and take overall podiums.
Yes, I can't remember off the top of my head. You probably will have the stat sheet in front of you, Ed, but I hope you do anyway. There was a Pro-Am driver, wasn't there, who absolutely dominated the field. and was mixing it with the sort of top 5 of the pro drivers, and we kept saying all evening that I don't think he'll be a pro-am for much longer. I can't quite remember who the driver was though, but they haven't turned up this evening. James Sharp, of course it was. Yeah, he was a driver. I'm pretty sure he was a pro back when we first started covering the BSR Championship. So I don't know how on earth he got himself demoted to pro-am. Yeah, he's a very quick driver. He hasn't turned up this evening, unfortunately. And then the other driver, if we're just doing the housekeeping for a little minute, while everybody else warms their tyres up, is Adam McNally. Now, Adam has been in the YouTube chat, so I know he's here this evening, so I'm guessing he is also serving a qualifying ban. Apparently, he's only done 2 minutes of practice around the Suzuka circuit, and that's a little bit of it's a tricky one to turn up to and just turn it on, isn't it? Because I reckon there's minute setup changes that you probably have to execute as you go through this circuit.
Yeah, there are a few different aspects for the car setup that a lot of drivers tend to go for, and a lot of it is actually having the I think it's the rear toe hook. You can have it either hooked or unhooked, and a lot of the time, if you have it unhooked, it gets a little bit more twitchy at the rear, which is sort of what you need around here. So I would imagine that most drivers will opt for the anti-roll bar to be unhooked at the rear, just to get that extra bit of rotation as you come through the sort of right, then left, then right again, then left again, and then right, then left, then right, and that's it for the lap. But yeah, it is very, very technical, and it's all about having the car set up. It's very unique as well for it being such a short lap. It's a lot of time to be found just down that main straight, getting that slipstream. It's something like around about 3/10 quite handily. So that's going to see a lot of drivers maybe losing out if they can't find a toe. And maybe the likes of Andy McEwen, who has been out all by himself session long, will maybe see himself a little bit quicker in the race. But here we go. What we were saying earlier about the drivers all getting together at the end. Wanji Lin took some time by himself, and then it's almost like I've had experience. I know what I'm talking about. He's right up there in the slipstream train from his 5-star motorsport teammates, and he had a very nice first sector, making his way through the final bend now. What will it be for Wanji Lin? Purple first sector. Last sector looked a little bit out of shape. I'm not sure if it will be enough for pole position. I don't think it was actually, because that was an outlap, turns out.
Yeah, they did go purple though in that sector one. 22.84 for Jason Cooper, 22.80 for Luke Cooper, and a 22.80 for Lynn as well. So some quick times coming out here. Max Edmondson's just done a 23 dead. That is as quick as he's gone in sector one. And as he's about to cross the start-finish line, he won't have that slipstream assistance that a few of the other drivers are taking advantage of, but as he comes across the line, Max Edmondson does jump up one position. He overtakes Andy McEwen, who found himself wavering down in 8th place. We did have a chat to Andy after the races last week as well, didn't we, Ed? And he said that he really doesn't like this new handling system. iRacing, they do love to just throw a spanner in the works every single time they do an update, don't they? And they like to sort of change the handling characteristics of the car almost completely, which suits some drivers and doesn't suit others. And Andy McEwen is one of those drivers who he feels he's been left behind a little bit. He doesn't like the how slidey these cars are, whereas the likes of Jason Cooper seems to be able to get a hold of them quite nicely.
I'll tell you what, it's almost like they're brothers. The two Coopers setting lap times at pretty much the exact same time, with pretty much the exact same time. Jason Cooper and Luke Cooper there, 7 thousandths apart. That is nothing, especially over such a short lap. There's plenty of time to be found, as Edmondson is now putting personal bests across both his sectors and finding a little bit more time, able to get himself now up into 6th place. But then there's a relatively huge gulf, isn't there, between 6th and 5th. It's amazing how actually far apart they are, considering how short the lap is. And it's a definite top 5 to the rest of the field gap. So maybe we'll see the likes of Adam Delmont trying to break away from Edmondson in the race. Of course, if you think about the percentage of the lap is spent on that straight, it's going to be so difficult to actually try and break away from anyone.
It is indeed, which is one of the reasons why I'm quite looking forward to it. But I think Suzuka is one of those tracks that highlights that change in handling system, in my opinion. We've seen quite a lot of drivers already, Ed. I think it's the last right-hander before we go into the... last right-hander before we go into the final corner, so the penultimate corner, some would say. And that is really where the cars are getting kicked out massively, and that's where a lot of the time is being lost, actually. I'm just going to try and keep with Luke Cooper. You can see it's the right-hander now. If you run a little bit too quick through the left, you don't get it back and you overcorrect and you slide the car through the apex, and there seems to be a little bit of a bump there. And that ruins the run. Oh, as Luke Cooper gets the rear end sliding out of the final corner, and that will ruin his run out onto the main straight. Lars Fischer does improve on that last time, by the way. 57.48. It wasn't good enough to pit Luke Cooper to second place, though. So, yeah, very, very much Suzuka leaning towards the new handling system with being very loose at the rear end. Some drivers getting to grips with it. James Clark has just got to grips with it. He's catapulted himself up to 6th place. Good drive by him.
Yeah, as we've just seen Colin Sansom come across the line in the AM class as the checker flag dropped. So he'll be hoping that, well, maybe that Chris Dixon won't improve on his time as Adam Fox is sitting in the pits currently. And now what will it be for qualifying? We've got to follow Jason Cooper, Luke Cooper, and the whole 5-Star Motorsport gang as they're making their way through. And that's actually a spin there for Adam Delmont, so he's not going to improve on his time. Up to the line, Jason Cooper, no improvement in the first sector. What about the final sector? Doesn't look like it either. But no one's seeming to improve. Got Andy McEwen in the background. Can he get any higher than 9th place? Sadly not. He will stay down there at the bottom of the pro class field. Not the result that Andy was hoping for here, that is for certain. But of course, this race will be dominated by slipstream. Around about 40% of the lap there or thereabouts is spent on that straight. So maybe we'll see plenty of action and drama here for the first race of the evening. We had it last time out at Laguna Seca, and I'm certain that we'll have it again. Even if the numbers aren't quite there in terms of sheer amount of drivers, the sheer quality of racing that we will get will be second to none. I guarantee it.
I was going to say, that's what we're hoping for, isn't it? That the 14 drivers that have turned up this evening do put on a bit of a show for us because, well, we just like to be entertained more than anything. But we'll be able to bring you up the grid for race number 1. Of course, a 15-minute race. Jason Cooper on pole position, and alongside him is his brother, Luke Cooper. Lock out the front row. Lars Fischer is in 3rd, with 4th being Lynn. 5th is Adam Delmont, 6th is James Clark, with 7th Max Edmondson and James Neve in 8th place. 9th is Andy McEwen, 10th is Colin Sampson, who's also on pole for the AM class. 11th is Adam Fox, and 12th Chris Dixon. And 13th and 14th is Adam McNally and Dan Skinner, who is, of course, on pole for the Pro-Am and will also be on the top step of the podium as well, given the fact that he is the only driver in the Pro-Am. So we're not going to ignore him, Ed, but he's not really got anybody to fight with, has he, this evening?
No, not particularly, but we will still relish the fight that we will see out on circuit, that is for sure, between drivers, not just on their class position, but overall. Just waiting for them to sort themselves out onto the grid. Luke Cooper are now waiting on Max Edmondson, and he takes the grid. It will start the countdown procedure. The lights will go on, they will go out, and we will go racing. It's an exciting front row, isn't it? Luke Cooper versus Jason Cooper, who currently holds pole position. Tends to have good starts, does Jason, but so does Lars Fischer in behind him on the second row. So that's one to watch out for. Here we go, lights coming on.
And we're racing. Sorry, there, Ed. So we are racing with Jason Cooper. He gets a good start. Luke Cooper gets a pretty awful start, I think it's safe to say. And I think by the first corner, we're going to have a 5-star 1, 2, 3. Not quite. Luke Cooper holds on to 3rd place with Lynn being the driver who I wouldn't say missed out because it would have been a bit of a bonus position gain for him. But he is stuck down in 4th as Lars Fischer was the driver to take advantage. Apart from that, there's not that much movement apart from Adam McNally moving up a couple of positions. From the back end of the field, of course, he didn't take part in qualifying. As there's a really loose moment for the 966 of Adam Fox. That's going to demote him down a couple of positions, surely in the Pro-Am category. Maybe not, actually. He's still leading Colin Sansom and Chris Dixon, who seem to be wavering down the order a little bit. James Clark in the number 5 has got Max Edmondson, James Neve and Andy McEwen just behind, but the Swift Cooper Motorsport machine seems to be doing a relatively good job at holding that the little bit of a air and the position that he's got on the circuit. So as the opening lap closes, it is still Jason Cooper leading the way. It is Lars Fischer who overtook Luke Cooper off the line. Just didn't seem to get off the line, did Luke? Who's currently sat in 3rd, and that's a big movement towards the inside of the circuit by Max Edmondson. I'm not entirely sure what that was.
That might have just been for the cameras, to be honest. He really went to the inside, and maybe it was actually to put off James Clark, who did run a little bit wide of the apex, and Max thought about going for the move and then had to think better of it. Good to see, though, that Max Edmondson making his debut in the BSR MX5 trophy. Always good for another face to join the party and get part of some excellent racing. As oh my word, Andy McEwen nearly got a huge tag from behind there, as I think that might have been Dan Skinner going a bit wayward through the left-hander. In behind, though, we can see Max Edmondson looking maybe a bit of a run here, which he easily gets on James Neve, as James Neve potentially got a slowdown penalty that he's having to serve, because he's not just let Max Edmondson through, but he's also let James Neve go past, and maybe a few more. Here we go. There goes Adam McLean. There goes Andy McEwen. Through goes Adam Fox. There has to be a slowdown penalty for James Clark.
Well, I'm sure he would have served it by now, though. This is very strange characteristics of James Clark.
Absolutely vicious on the opening couple of laps, because it doesn't have representative delta time. It doesn't have any times from Jason Cooper or Lars Fischer, whoever sets the fastest lap over the race, to go off of. That's how it's based. It basically penalises you relative to that fastest time, and because we haven't actually got a full pace racing lap in yet, it's really quite harsh. So that's sadly what has penalised him quite substantially.
As indeed, yeah. Thank you very much, Rich Hayden, for giving a like on the stream as well. It's a pleasure to have you along, Rich. Hopefully, we'll have a good race tomorrow as well. And I'm sure you're cheering on VRRC candidate Max Edmondson, as a whole host of other drivers are. But he's got a problem with James Neve just behind. Adam McNally and Andy McEwen are still lighting up the screens, and there's a huge slide by McNally.
Oof.
He caught it, he lost it, he caught it. He's in the gravel, he's on the grass, and he comes back onto the circuit in 12th place. That was a big shame, that one, because that was brewing up to be a nice little battle between himself and McEwen.
Yeah, lying at the screens, I thought Adam McNally might have misheard you, though, as he lit up the rears instead coming through that first corner. Massive slide, but amazing car control to regain it and keep it from spearing off, as the understeer can, or the oversteer can suddenly bite you. And that was really well held, as to be said. Just the tap of the brakes to neutralise that dead. As Wan Ji Lin is maybe going to go for the kill here on Luke Cooper. The inside potentially in towards turn 1 and make it a 5-star 1, 2, 3. Looking a little bit up the inside, but not properly sending it just yet.
No, he's being a bit patient, isn't he, there? And that's exactly what we saw from him in the previous round, wasn't it, at Laguna Seca? It was a sort of measured approach by Lin to try and go for these sprint races. He strikes me as the kind of driver that maybe is more leaning towards the endurance-based events, which we don't have many of here at BSR. We're all about quick 15-minute sprint races and reverse grids, so you really do need to be very active in the way that you move forward through the field if you've got the pace. Lin hasn't really been able to do that so far this season, but we are very, very early in the season, and he might be learning the car, might be learning the drivers. Ed, there is a little bit of that. As Lin loses the rear end, and I don't think he's going to be worried about fighting forwards. He's going to be worried about losing position from behind. Adam Delmont gets a really nice run in comparison out of the final corner, and it looks like Delmont will have that move done even by the first corner. Yes, he does. Lin slots in behind and accepts that he's in 5th place for this lap.
Yeah, he seems to be settling down, but it is very much a case of this top 5 running away with things at the moment, as Max Edmondson appears to be best of the rest, down in 6th place and having to hold off the assault of James Neve in behind. And soon James will likely have his year 1 teammate Andy McEwen backing him up in that fight. Meanwhile, in the AM class, Adam Fox continues to lead the way, currently 9th overall. Very good haul of points for the AM driver if he is able to take it over the line. Dan Skinner as well, like we say, Pro-Am, the only driver out there, and not having the best of starts, a little bit all over the place. And he'll be grateful, actually, that there aren't any other Pro-Am drivers. That was a little bit of a moment there from Adam Delmont, and that has opened the door wide for Wan Ji Lin. And maybe, actually, Wan Ji is going to get a run here on Luke Cooper in towards turn one. He might even have to make that move up the inside to maybe defend from Adam Delmont. He's going to look to sweep around the outside. The run out of the corner should be there for Adam Delmont. Could have a sniff up the inside if he fancies it, and he's gonna force Adam, well, not Adam, he's gonna force Wan Ji to go long way around, then to have the inside, then the long way around yet again. Circuit, because it is so left and right, it does allow drivers to go side by side, because if you have the outside, that quickly turns to the inside, and this inside will turn to the outside for Wan Ji Lin, and if he can manage to keep himself there, they will have gone side by side for an entire lap, and they do as he works his way through the final corner. Tap of the brakes there from Wan Ji Lin not to come into the side of Adam Delmont, but all of that scrapping is actually allowing Luke Cooper to break away. That gap now over 1 second just because of all that fighting, and I think Wan Ji Lin realizes this isn't doing either of them any good. He slots in behind, and they're going to have to work together to try and bring themselves into the picture for the race lead.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it, on these rhythm-based sort of momentum circuits, how quickly you can lose the train and you can lose the opportunity to go for a race-leading move as you're fighting over 4th or 5th position. And that's exactly what Adam Delmont and Wan Ji Lin actually sort of felt the brunt of there. And although it was very entertaining, it was the catalyst of their slight downfall, as they've got a 1.3 second gap now between 4th place, Adam Delmont, and Luke Cooper in 3rd. And that is, I wouldn't say insurmountable, but it's going to be a little bit difficult. Adam Delmont going very close to the apex there, pretty much running 2 tyres and about 75% of the car over the apex. I wouldn't have been surprised if he got a slowdown. Doesn't look like he does have a slowdown, so he's quite all right for the time being. But yeah, that sort of battle has calmed down just a touch. Unlike this one that seems to be brewing between the year 1 car and the new driver, Max Edmondson, in the number 33. Going into the first corner, James Neve, sort of semi-looking up the inside, but equally, I think it's just a bit of a camera angle, having a little bit of a play with us there, Ed. He doesn't quite have the opportunity, but you can get the sense that it's coming.
Yeah, you can. I think James Neve realizes as well. He saw that side-by-side action between Adam Delmont and Wan Ji Lin and realized that squabbling is not going to help anyone. They need to work together. And even though James Neve might be a little bit quicker and could go for the move on Max Edmondson, it's in both of their interests to keep it as it is and not to fight, because all of a sudden that pair did close up quite dramatically to the back end of Adam Delmont. So I think that's what we're seeing now, is a little bit of teamwork potentially between Max Edmondson and James Neve. James just letting Max get on with it, bring the laps in and bring that gap down as we follow Adam McNally with double slipstreaming help from the back end of James Clark and the car directly ahead of him, Adam Fox. Adam, who's actually looking to the inside, not probably for a move on the number 5 of James Clark, but more to defend from Adam McNally. This is Adam Driver versus Pro, and actually a little bit of an opportunistic dive to the inside. There was a gap. Adam Fox went for it, but sadly couldn't actually pull off the move in the end. Look at that great little bit of scrapping, and Adam McNally does appear to be struggling a little bit with the turning in of the car. It doesn't seem to be as happy with the direction changes a few other cars. It looks more sort of on rails rather than the other cars ahead, likes of Jason Cooper. When you see them go through the corners, it is a little bit more tail happy. As I say that though, bit of a slide coming the way of Adam McNally, and a bigger slide from Adam Fox, who loops it almost all the way around, keeps it out of the barrier, but in doing so fully rotates the car, and now we'll need to make sure he rejoins the action safely.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, I think a lot of what McNally was being held up by there is the fact that it looked like Adam Fox was going to spin at any corner at any particular moment, so he didn't really want to force the issue, get up behind Adam Fox, and he didn't quite know what the driver was going to do and what the car was going to do. He did manage, obviously, he was right, because he got away with it by just holding back a touch and waiting for the driver of Adam Fox to actually make that mistake for him, gets an easy pass. Luke Cooper is not going to give an easy pass to anybody. Adam Delmont and Lynn have actually caught up to the back of them. We said, well, I sort of gave the impression, Ed, that maybe this wouldn't happen over the course of the last couple of minutes, but it looks like there's an opportunity. And if Luke Cooper keeps throwing the rear ender out like that, that opportunity is only going to strengthen.
Yeah, and you can see that Adam Delmont had a really nice run through that final corner, hooked the apex up nice and late, got on the power nice and early. And now he's going to be able to force Luke Cooper to go where he wants him. Is he going to go to the inside? Well, Delmont's going to try and take that away from them. They almost touch. They come into the braking zone as we see a bit of a squeeze there from Luke Cooper. Delmont up the inside. He's going to have a nice run out of the corner, able to get onto the power as early as he wants to. And he's going to have his nose just about ahead. But as they come through the left-hander, that becomes the inside for the number 6. That really does swipe the nose and the door shut in the face of Adam Delmont, who has to get onto the brakes to avoid contact there as Luke parks it on the apex, defends beautifully, and now leaves his 5-star teammates with plenty of breathing space up ahead. Jason Cooper and Lars Fischer looking to run away with this one as, well, Luke is trying to make his MX-5 the widest of all MX-5s, leaves the door open and, well, pretty much comes across Adam Delmont there. You have to say that Adam was going to go for that move, and I think Luke, rather too late, realised there was a gap, tries to close it, but, well, Adam Delmont stuck his foot in there, forced the gap open, and now Wanji Lin is going to try and put himself into the picture to make it through wide. There's a car going slow in the background. That appears to be Dan Skinner with trouble. Side by side up ahead, though, still Adam Delmont and Luke Cooper for the second time going battling into turn 1. And this time it is Adam Delmont who takes 3rd place.
Yeah, Adam has finally got his move. There was a gap definitely up the inside of Luke Cooper. I think Luke just went wide on the penultimate corner, didn't quite get the apex, and all of a sudden realised a little bit too late, or he couldn't quite catch the car in time to close the gap, but he still tried to do it and cut across the nose of Adam Delmont a little bit, I think, now. And I think when they watch the replay, especially our broadcast potentially, they'll sort of realise the mistake. But it's all done and dusted. Adam Delmont does have his position that he wanted. Luke Cooper's now going to have to defend from Wanji Lin. Lin, as we said before, not always the most assertive driver when it comes to making the moves stick. So not 100% sure he's going to go for it. But another driver who I'm not 100% sure would actually go for it if the opportunity arose is Lars Fischer. It's almost like he was pushing his teammate Jason Cooper across the line then. Very much happy to play the backup driver, isn't he? It seems, Lars Fischer. And he sort of doesn't really want to cause any arguments, but it seems in that 5-star garage. Sort of get the impression, though, that you sort of want a little bit more fight from him. If the opportunity's there, go for it. It's not a team championship at the end of the day.
Yeah, but it's all about where he can find the pace to go quicker. And as well, I think there might be a little bit of orders not to fight, maybe until they get onto the white flag where they will be allowed to scrap, because if they fight too much too early, that can allow Adam Delmont to get to the picture. And I have to say, Adam Delmont is very quick at the moment in time. It was 3 seconds the gap as he crossed the line before, and now it's pretty much 2.5 between Lars Fischer and Adam Delmont. Adam having a really quick last lap. I think he was let down a little bit by his qualifying pace, to be honest, the Excite Racing driver. But now that he's got clear air, he's starting to, you know, clear a path almost in the wake of drivers behind, trying to catch up as well. Luke Cooper getting plenty of slipstream help from Wanji Lin, who is all over his rear bump. But Wanji Lin was one of the stars last time out. Let's not forget, at the amazing Laguna Seca, some of the moves he was pulling off were absolutely amazing. But the sad thing was that he couldn't defend them. He couldn't seem to make them stick. And I think, sadly, we're seeing that again here. He's been able to get involved in these scraps, but just can't quite have that end result. But that will come with time, come with experience as well in these MX-5s and the way that you race them here in the BSR MX5 trophy. For now, though, he will have to do all he can to get ahead of Luke Cooper. We do go on to what I imagine is the final lap of racing. Wanji Lin, is he going to go for a little late look up the inside? He's going to have to go for it now or never. Sweeping his way around the outside, though, carrying so much speed as Luke Cooper. How he managed to get it stopped in time for the second phase of the first corner, I have no idea. But he's left himself very vulnerable. And Wanji Lin trying to look all the way around the outside to then get the inside. I think this is going to be where he gets that move settled down. He does excellent stuff there by Wanji. I was asking about the end product, and he's, well, fully proven me wrong. He has it in his locker, and he pulled it off brilliantly.
Yeah, we just hope that we see it a little bit more often. Luke Cooper, he's been a little bit loose in this race, hasn't he? He's been a little loose and wild, but we're going to have to watch Lin's teammate to come across the line to take another race victory. And, of course, it's that man, the number 150, Jason Cooper, multiple championship winner here at the BSR community, and he's just won another race to add to his collection as well. Lars Fischer, his teammate, is trusty number 2, comes in second place. Adam Delmont, the Excite driver, gets on to the third step of the podium, with Lynn and Cooper rounding out the top 5 in the end. And as the rest of the drivers filter through, we'll be able to give you a full rundown. And it just occurred to me that I didn't have the timing tower up on the left-hand side for that entire race. I do sincerely apologise. Hopefully, we were able to bring you everything that you wanted up to date with our commentary. But I do sincerely apologise. I took it off the screen to try and give you the best view of the first couple of laps action, and then I was going to bring it back on the screen, and I never managed to, so I do apologise. But that is the finishing order on the left-hand side, and we'll be able to actually... nicer way of doing it is to bring you the full results, wouldn't it, actually? We're going to bring up the random number generator. There it is, in fact. And we'll do the reverse grid nice and quickly, Ed. We'll go from 6 to, of course, 14, the maximum amount of drivers that are here this evening. And let's hope that we can get a nice high number, because it's not a particularly high number to start with. It's the number 11, a nice high number, I would say, and that puts a driver who's in a different class on pole position. Not quite a class of his own, like Ed was mentioning before. But we'll be able to bring you, well, you'll be able to keep reminded of that number 11 as we run through the race results. Jason Cooper took the top step of the podium with Lars Fischer and Adam Delmont either side of him. Lynn was in 4th, Luke Cooper was in 5th, Max Edmondson was in 6th place on his debut, I believe, in the BSR MX5 Championship, or the debut this season, that's for sure. James Neve was in 7th with Andy McEwen, lowly 8th, he won't be very pleased with that. James Clark in 9th, Adam McNally was rounding out the top 10, and then on pole position for race number 2 will be Adam Fox, who also won the AM class in that first race of the evening. Colin Sampson was in 12th with 13th, Chris Dixon 3 laps down, but still taking a race victory. But I'm not entirely sure he gets the points, actually, as he was more than 1 lap down. It was Dan Skinner in the Pro-Am category. Ed, I don't know if you can clear up a little bit of whether Dan Skinner actually scores any points there.
I don't believe you do, actually. I think you don't score any points if you finish 2 laps down or more, and you are and I also remember you're not eligible for reverse grid pole position either if you finish 2 laps down or more. So sadly, Dan Skinner not scoring any points in the Pro-Am Championship, and that's a real blow, because if he was able to score points tonight when all of his rivals were away, that would be a huge boost to him. But maybe it was done purposefully as well to keep the championship alive. I don't see why he decided to peel off and go to the end of the race, because it seemed to be just an issue all on himself. I don't think there was anything caused by it. He just peeled off to the right-hand side down the start-finish straight, and then appeared to go into the pits. So maybe we'll see him race for a little while and then decide not to score any points and keep the championship alive. I'm not sure.
Well, this is what happened to Dan Skinner. I don't think it was just peeling off. It was a rather hefty hit into the wall, actually, after losing it on the last corner. So, yeah, that was a bit of a shame. And then I believe he had yet another crash, potentially. Or this might have just been him pulling off to the side because he's slightly crabbing. Yes, it is actually, isn't it? So this registered as a crash. But unfortunately, that first incident, heading himself into the pit wall, was enough to Dan Skinner to finish his
I do like how he peels off as well by the fire escapes as well. Very, very good for the immersion, I have to say. Yeah, very nice from Dan Skinner.
Yeah, absolutely. And, well, I'm just curious as to whether anybody's actually going to come in and have a chat to us. In fact, Ed, I believe you do have a driver to have a chat to.
Do I? I cannot see anybody waiting in the wings.
He's in the broadcast already, that's why.
Have a look. Is he in the broadcast booth with us right now? I'm not seeing anyone here, Jack.
Oh. Oh, no, my apologies. I was zoomed down to Excite and I thought Adam McNally was in the booth with us. But no, he's not. So I believe, everybody, that's going to be... we're going to very quickly head over to the next session. So please do stick around on Jacko Racing. We'll be back in about 5 to 10 minutes' time with race 2 of the evening, which will see Adam Fox on pole position. Welcome back, everybody, and I do apologise very quickly, just trying to get rid of that for you. And we are back here at Suzuka for round 2 of the BSR MX5 trophy. We're about to go live for race number 2 as well, Ed. It was a fairly good race in the couple of minutes ago, wasn't it? But realistically, it was probably what we expect from a gridded race, shall we say. One that was dictated by qualifying. Not much in the way of lead changing. There was a little bit of a scrapping in the midfield, but there wasn't that much drama.
No, there wasn't really, but I think we're going to see that turned on its head in the second race with the 11 reverse grid. It's a sizable reverse that will see a lot of drivers starting out of position and maybe a little bit more fighting, and we could see what Adam McNally can do. He was put out of order, of course, from the qualifying performance that wasn't his best, but some of the pace he showed in that race to come through and finish in third. Tell you what, he has got to be a driver to watch. That is for certain. It's all about how he can carve through the field, though. And we've seen Jason Cooper do that so well already this season and in subsequent seasons as well. So keep your eyes open for him starting in 11th place.
Yeah, and we'll bring you the grid now, actually, with Adam Fox, who won the he won the AM in race number 1. He's got his reward, and he's starting on pole position. It'll be Adam McNally alongside him, with James Clark and Andy McEwen in 3rd and 4th, James Neve and Max Edmondson in 6th, Luke Cooper in 7th, with Lynn in 8th. Adam Delmont in 9th, and the top 10 rounded out by Lars Fisher. Jason Cooper and Colin Sansom are 11th and 12th, and then right at the back of the field is Chris Dixon and Dan Skinner. So that is how we are lining up for this particular battle here at Suzuka with Adam McNally. Was it Adam McNally you were just mentioning there, Ed, about one of the drivers who probably to keeping an eye out on?
I think it was more Adam McNally, and I think as well as Adam McNally just did struggle a bit in that race, and I want to see what more we can see from him. But also Adam Delmont, his teammate, I think both those Excite Racing drivers would definitely have a lot to give us, that's for certain. But we are waiting for the time to see the drivers get up in racing. You can hear the engine notes rising, and from pole position, Adam Fox will lead them, hopefully into turn 1 if he gets a good start. But I think Adam McNally will try and close the gap down and maybe make a move. Maybe around the outside. That's where he's looking in towards the first corner. So hopefully hang it around. It's going to be difficult on cold tyres. Keep your eyes on Andy McEwen as well, ready to pick up the pieces should these two come together, and should we see a spin or a huge slide, and the bit of a moment there for Adam Fox, who takes out Adam McNally, who did everything right, tried to stay out of the way. Meanwhile, we're seeing a battle of the ages, hopefully, between James Clark and James Neve. Two Jameses fighting out there to see who's the better of the pair. So we have Max Edmondson there as well. It's all so difficult, though, in this opening stage because of the way that the tyres are. They're not up to temperature, and it takes a while, around about 3 or so laps before they're properly in the right window. So you can't send too many moves up the inside because you just have that stopping power, and you can quite easily have a moment getting on the power too early. James Clark there going to the left-hand side of the circuit as already Max Edmondson made his intentions clear through onto the inside, and actually already ahead before they get even into the braking zone of the first corner here. So it will be Max Edmondson in 3rd place, looking for his first podium on his debut race meeting. So far, so good. Other than that early lap incident, which involved Adam McNally and Adam Fox, it's been nice and clean.
Yeah, we will have a quick look at what exactly happened to Adam McNally and Adam Fox, but really, I think the first time of viewing gave us a pretty clear picture. Adam Fox just got loose on the rear end. McNally did a little bit, but had a little bit better control. But at the end of the day, when the car snapped, and unfortunately, Adam Fox's car did exactly that and took out Adam McNally, who I'm sure won't be too pleased about it. He's now down in 13th place, and it's yet another recovery drive that he's going to have to execute. Adam Delmont, he is another driver that he's executing his perfect race strategy. Picked them off one by one, and it's going to be another driver here in the form of James Clark. Adam up the inside of him. He's going to be hoping to dive into turn 1, and he takes that 5th place away from the Swift Cooper racing car. Good move there by Adam Delmont. Pretty textbook, and he's got another Swift Cooper just ahead of him. But that one is in the form of Luke Cooper, who was very quick in qualifying, but didn't manage to execute the perfect race pace or race craft, shall we say, either, as they went through the first 15 minutes of racing that we had here today, this evening. And that's why he slipped down, I believe, to 5th position overall. And he's in 4th at the moment, but he does have a very determined Adam Delmont just behind.
Yeah, and in first, at the very time, and James Neve in behind him is Andy McEwen that last lap. Saw James Neve with the fastest of the race thus far. Good effort there from the number 7 to try and bring that gap down as Adam Delmont with a brilliant run out of the final corner, going to the inside very early on, not allowing any defensive movement there from Luke Cooper. He's just got to grin and bear it and hope that he can hang it all the way around the outside in towards turn 1, but I think he will probably have to settle for fifth place rather, as Adam Delmont easily slides his way up the inside in towards turn 1 and gets the move done. So Adam Delmont charging up through the field. He said we've got to look out for him, and it looks to be the case here that he's going to carry it on as we watch Lars Fisher in behind James Clark. James, who's really struggling. He had such good pace at the start, but it's just started to fall backwards further and further. As soon as you get thrown off rhythm and offline, you just get eaten up by all the other drivers.
Yeah, if anybody ever's watched sort of junior kart racing, say cadets or four-stroke racing, IARMYs, anything like that, you'll probably be recognising exactly what's happening here, and that's the fact that everybody's in a train. Everybody's doing a very similar speed because you don't have that much power. The racing line and the grip available to you on the tyres is only so much. You can only go so quickly. So as soon as you make a little bit of a mistake or the car doesn't quite react in the way that you're expecting to, everything else goes by the window, and about 3 cars drive past you as there's a big slide on there for Adam Delmont. You can saw an actual puff of the smoke. Has to be a pretty big slide in iRacing to be able to get a puff of the smoke, one that should slow you down. But it didn't on that occasion for Adam Delmont, so Luke Cooper wasn't able to take advantage. James Clark has just been overtaken by not only Fisher, but I think Lynn as well. Yes, Lynn has got himself up to 8th place, or back to 8th place actually. He's the only driver that hasn't actually progressed or deteriorated from his starting position. He has done, he's just gotten back up to 8th place, which is exactly where he started. Similar to Max Verstappen at the weekend, actually. But yeah, good moves by Fisher and Lynn. And I'm just going to have a quick look as things have died down just a touch here, Ed, and see what exactly happened to Adam Fox on the start of this particular race. And look at that rear end. He almost caught it, but it was always going to snap away from him.
Yeah, it was, and it's sadly one I think the stewards will find Adam Fox at fault for. It was his mistake that caused Adam McNally to lose all of those positions. So sadly for Adam Fox, that reverse grid pole position was somewhat of a poisoned chalice for him, as he now finds himself behind his class rival of Colin Sansom, who's up inside the top 10. A very good turn of pace there for the driver to be inside the top 10. But he's got Dan Skinner in behind, who will look to try and take that away from him. Andy McEwen doing a bit of a slide there to keep James Neve at bay. In behind, though, there are so many other drivers looking to find a way past. Jason Cooper struggling a little bit here in behind the Swift Cooper racing driver of Luke Cooper. Is there going to be any family squabbles in towards turn 1? You'd imagine so, as he's right up in behind. Actually a little bit of bump drafting, and now Jason Cooper goes to the inside, and I don't think Luke will fight this too much. No, leaves plenty of space there, and sees the position, realizes that Jason Cooper is quicker at this moment in time in the race and might actually use that pace to his own advantage, stay close behind Jason Cooper, and maybe make up positions as a result of moves that he makes later on in the race.
Yeah, I think a bargain has been traded there, hasn't it? Give me the place and I'll give you the last scoop of ice cream. Well, I have no idea how old they are. They probably won't be bargaining with ice cream, but you never know. I would probably still do that, to be honest, at the ripe old age of 26. But yes, there wasn't much of a battle there, was there, between the two Coopers, unfortunately. And we do like to see the fast drivers be challenged. It always annoys me when Ash Sutton just cars through the field because no one wants to get in his way in the BTCC. It's understandable that other drivers probably think that they're not going to be able to keep up with the driver ahead coming through, so they might as well just not lose the amount of time they probably would if they were to battle in their race overall. As I said, it's a similar story in Formula 1 when you see the likes of Max Verstappen come up behind someone like Kevin Magnussen. However, actually, keeping that in mind, that was a really bad example because Magnussen actually put on a really good show against Verstappen at Singapore. So, hopefully we'll see more drivers taking example from Kevin.
Yeah, we will. We'll also see what Andy McEwen will do if he can emulate that here tonight. It's going to be difficult, though, because he's got so many drivers lying in behind. He has one benefit of his teammate James Neve that will probably act as a rear gunner to keep the likes of Max Edmondson and Adam Delmont at bay. Adam has had such a good turn of pace so far and is already up there in that fight for the lead. Let's see how close it is in behind, actually. I think we're going to see Edmondson go for a move to the inside, but more to actually defend, potentially from the charging 77 of Adam Delmont, who actually is pushing him along, trying to push him up the inside, perhaps, to get second place. And you know what? I think that extra couple of kilometers has really helped out Max Edmondson. That bump drafting working brilliantly to get the position made. And now Max is going to be looking not just for his first podium, but maybe his first win as well. He's only got Andy McEwen to get ahead of, and he will find himself leading the race for the first time.
Yeah, hopefully this doesn't turn sour at all with the driver coming through on Andy McEwen. Otherwise, I could be commentating on Max tomorrow with a very salty co-commentator in the form of Andy McEwen. Hopefully, we'll try and keep it all nice and PC, but it is always a bit of a fear. Luke Cooper.
Doesn't Andy also commentate on the Civic Cup that Edmondson races in real life as well? Or am I mistaken on that?
Yes, no, it is. It absolutely is, and they've got the Snetterton round, the finale coming up soon as well. So yeah, fingers crossed they keep it nice and above board. They're professionals. I'm sure they will, of course. Actually had a chat to Max Edmondson. It hasn't really been his year, unfortunately, in the Civic Cup. I had a chat to him at Brands Hatch when I was covering that one, covering for Andy. Jameson Cooper and James Neve, I believe, have just swapped positions, or actually they're still dealing with it, aren't they, as they go through the mid-section of the lap. Jason Cooper trying to carry that momentum around the outside of the right-hander, goes through and takes that position away from James Neve, who has to settle for 5th place, and is now the only driver that is actually in the position they started the race in. A little bit further up is Adam Delmont. Now, you said right at the beginning, Ed, that he was going to be a driver to look out for. You were absolutely correct. It's not often that a commentator gets these sorts of predictions correct, but right now, he's definitely been one of the drivers that we've been most impressed with, isn't it, here for the last 9 minutes and 45 seconds.
Yeah, it would have been a bit of a cop-out if I said Jason Cooper was one to watch, as he's also made plenty of positions this race. I think Adam Delmont is a very exciting driver to watch at the moment. Ooh, that was a little bit of a late defensive move there from Max Edmondson against Adam Delmont. I was worried as well for Andy McEwen that they were all going to barrel on into the back of him, but thankfully they get through in one piece. And he's going to be sweating bullets though, watching all of this in behind. He's going to be just gripping the wheel ever so tightly as he breaks in towards turn one, saying, please don't hit me, please don't hit me. And thankfully, such contact has not happened yet, and touch wood, that won't happen for the remainder of the race. We have good, clean fighting, but it's a four-way scrap now for the lead of the race, with Jason Cooper right at the back in the pound seats to watch all of this drama unfold as Andy McEwen goes a bit wide, hooks up a very late apex, though. That's going to get him onto the power nice and early to have a nice run in towards the first corner, but the slipstream is strong, and he knows that he's going to be weak against Max Edmondson, who is right up there now and is looking up the inside. Andy McEwen tries to defend for all he can, but realizes that the inside line is there for Edmondson. He has his nose just ahead into the braking zone. Adam Delmont fancies a move as well, and Andy McEwen forced offline. Is he going to lose out not just one place, maybe 2 places, maybe even a third, as Jason Cooper looks up the inside, but Andy is able to hang on to the podium for now, and it's not all over yet. It's his turn to get some slipstream to try and fight his way through. He's had to punch a hole for these drivers, and now we'll see what he can do in behind and maybe make a move of his own.
Yeah, I won't lie, ladies and gentlemen. During the intermission, Andy did send me a message, and in caps lock, he put, "This car sucks." So it's no wonder that even though he's got the number 1 on his car, he's not able to get to grips with it so far this year. That might change, but Max Edmondson and Delmont, particularly here at Suzuka, very much got to grips with it, and of course Jason Cooper, who can get to grips with pretty much any car and any track that he wants to. So
Edmondson.
He's a bit of a cheat code, isn't he? But he's got another good slipstream here. The year 1 number 1 driver is look at Max Edmondson and Adam Delmont.
He's weaving a bit too much there. Oh dear, that's going to be a bit of a word in his ear, I think, from the stewards after that one. Hopefully just a warning. He is a new boy around here and needs to be taught how it works, but hopefully not taught with the rule book being thrown at him, maybe with a slap of the wrist and sending on the way, because this is some great fighting that we've been treated to. Jason Cooper just getting the better there of Andy McEwen in the aftermath of all of that. And Andy he's not enjoying this car around this circuit. It's just not working out for him at the moment, but he is right in behind Jason Cooper. The podium is still in his sights, and to be fair, after the first race, I think he'd still be quite happy with a 4th place finish. Now let's watch to the front here as Max Edmondson, he's got to make a decisive move here against Adam Delmont, and he's going to go to the inside. Adam Delmont with the slipstream, with the overspeed. He's going to have his nose ahead, but are only around the outside in towards the first corner. It's a little bit of a kink before they have to slow down even further, and that's going to really help out Max Edmondson, that high-speed right-hander. Look at him kicking the tail out in towards the second corner, and he's just able to stay in front, but there's a little bit of contact there as they try and squabble away to hold off each other. Edmondson needs to get his elbows out, but make sure he doesn't whack someone in the face with them, as to be good with the defensive driving, but not too much. But it turns into offensive driving in the sense that it's offensive to look at. It's got to be nice and pretty out there.
Yes, no, he needs to keep it clean, doesn't he? That's the important thing. And he's only got about 2.5 minutes to have to deal with this. But, sorry, no, not even that. About 1.5 minutes, I believe.
Two
probably
laps
going
to
to have
go
2 laps. Yes. It's a long time to defend when you've got the slipstream as powerful as it is here at Suzuka, and when you've got a car as quick as Adam Delmont, and another one in the form of Jason Cooper, and Adam Delmont cuts across the nose of Jason Cooper. I thought they were going to go 3 wide into the first corner. It wasn't to be, and Edmondson holds on to that inside line. He holds on to the apex, and he just about holds on to the race lead as well. Adam Delmont tried to throw everything at him, but Edmondson, using all of his real-life experience and, of course, sim experience that we've mentioned on plenty of occasions so far tonight, to his advantage, and keeping Delmont in check for the time being. This is going to be a very interesting championship if we do keep Edmondson, Delmont and Cooper in this vein of form. And of course, we haven't even mentioned the likes of Lars Fischer and Lynn and Luke Cooper, James Neve. It's
he's nearly lost
big
it.
Contact there with Delmont, and here comes McEwen's on his way through. He goes from 4th, potentially into 2nd place.
He's just been forced a little bit out of shape, though, but he's going to get a nice helping of slipstream from the race leader, Max Edmondson. But, oh, my word, I thought for a second Jason Cooper had just cut across the nose of Andy McEwen. He might well have done, but now we're on to the final lap. And if Edmondson can hang on through the first corner, which he does, he looks set to bring himself through for a debut race win for his first race evening. Andy McEwen looked for a move up the inside, but it just wasn't to be. A little bit opportunistic there from Lars Fischer, who thought he could maybe snatch at 4th place, but Andy McEwen had other plans. Now Max needs to hang on. That rear end is getting very hot. Those rear tyres are struggling. Just bring it home through and not lose control, because if you are a mistake, well, man behind, championship leader is ready to pounce. He's going to have a nice, good exit, is Jason Cooper, but the checkered flag comes nice and early, thankfully for Max Edmondson, who comes around to win his first ever time here in the BSR MX5 trophy. It only took him 2 rounds to get, or 2 races rather, to get his first win. A stunning drive there from the debutant. As to be said, what can we see from him in the future? He is looking a real gem in this championship. It could be a driver to take it to Jason Cooper as the season progresses.
Yeah, hopefully Jeff Edmondson, who followed the channel just before we went live, actually. Fingers crossed you enjoyed that one, Jeff, if you are watching. I'm guessing you are the father of a certain Max Edmondson. So, yeah, hopefully everybody enjoyed that one. I know we certainly did. Provided us with some very exciting racing, and fingers crossed, it's a sign of things to come. See, Ed, you don't need 30 or 40 cars on track at any one time to have a very entertaining race. You just need 14 high-quality racers, and races even, and all of a sudden you're laughing, aren't you? Right, let's bring up the random number generator for race 3 of the evening. This is, of course, our attempt at doing the old spinning wheel, which is not really... I've not really been able to get it to work, put it that way. Let's go from 6, as per usual, to the magic 14, which is our full reverse grid. Generate the number, and it's number 8. So it doesn't sound that large, but actually that is over half of the grid to be reversed, of course, because, well, there's not that many of us here today, which is unfortunate. But remember the number 8 as I bring up the race results for that particular race number 2. Max Edmondson confirmed as the victor by just over 1/10 of a second, ahead of Jason Cooper, who got yet another race podium. I believe that is 100% in 6 races for Jason Cooper to be on the podium so far this season. Adam Delmont got yet another 3rd place. Very impressive job by him, 0.3 of a second back from the race leader. Andy McEwen ended up in 4th, with Lars Fischer in 5th, James Neve in 6th, Lynn was 7th, Luke Cooper was in 8th place, James Clark in 9th. Top 10 was rounded out by our Pro-Am winner, unsurprisingly, is Dan Skinner. winner. Adam McNally was 11th after that contact with Adam Fox in the first lap, at the first corner, actually. 12th place was Colin Sanson. He took the AM class victory, with Adam Fox and Chris Dixon was 13th and 14th. And if you forgot, like me, what that magic number was for that reverse grid, it's the number 8, which means Luke Cooper will be on pole position. Remember, Luke has already started from the front row once this evening. Didn't quite go to plan for him. He's going to be hoping that he can turn that that pole position into a race victory. Katie Eames has come on the Facebook chat as well, saying Adam Delmont is flying tonight. You're absolutely right, Katie, and I believe he's been following the channel for just about as long as you have as well. So very thankful to have you along, as I'm thankful for everyone, and so is Ed, for tuning in for this evening. I believe we've had quite a good number of viewers, actually. Hopefully, anybody out there who's interested in racing some MX-5s on iRacing, you get involved. Message BSR, message me. I'll pass you on to the correct people, and hopefully we'll see you on the grid in a couple of weeks' time, because it'd be delightful to have you there. Right, Ed, have we got anybody to come in and have a chat? Oh, Neil Crave actually gives a like on the YouTube chat. Have a chat with them, Ed.
Let us bring in Race 2 Race Victor in his debut race meeting. It only took him 2 races to do it. Max Edmondson joins us. And Max, congratulations on a brilliant result there for you. You had to get your elbows out of it at the end there, but what a fight it was, and congratulations.
Yeah, wasn't easy to be fair, but I knew the boys behind me had quicker pace. So I just had to sort of keep it consistent and keep it on track, which I did basically. I nearly killed myself at the end, but we brought it on.
How was it though, scrapping about with some drivers that you've probably heard of before? Obviously, Andy McEwen commentates on you in real life. It must have been a bit sweet to pull that move on him to get into the lead.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he had a slowdown, so I mean, it wasn't the hardest thing in the world, but I mean, I was sort of working as a team, so. But the faster guys were catching like really quickly, so we sort of had to think of something quickly to do without him losing too many positions. But yeah.
How was it actually getting involved into the championship? Who was it that brought you in? Because it seems to me that they might not be too happy that you've taken points away from them.
Well, I used to do some AC stuff, but I've always liked iRacing a bit more. But it was Andy that basically. Well, I asked him the other night how much was it to pay and stuff, and when was it, and what the times were, and he spoke to me tonight about it, and I was like, oh, I'll enter because I like iRacing, so I just entered, and then I've got to win somehow.
Yeah, I see. Is something that my good friend Jacko has been talking to us about across the broadcast, because you obviously race in the VRRC championships that I was a part of a little while back now. And I mean, Jack, surely it's good to see Max being able to do so well in the different sims. But how is it actually, Max, and sort of the translation between the two?
I think iRacing is a lot more realistic, as in the physics with the car and everything, and the damage module. So I think overall it's a lot better of a sim, but I think it's just where you start is sort of where you finish, because obviously I think they're quite different to each other. So I think it's if you start on iRacing, you're probably majority like iRacing, and if you start on AC, then you're probably more like AC.
Yeah, and I'll hand over to Jack, because I'm sure he's got a few questions after commentating you a few times at VRRC. He might have something for you for your first time here on BSR.
Yeah, Max, that must have been fairly enjoyable. Probably more enjoyable than most of your Civic Cup action this year. Unfortunately, well, we had a chat, didn't we? And that hasn't been quite going to plan in real life.
No, nothing's gone wrong this year. Nothing's gone right. Sorry. Everything that could have gone wrong has gone wrong. So, eventually got a win this season. Not a real life win, but we got a win. I'll take everything.
I was going to say, have you been tempted now to potentially go rear-wheel drive and maybe stick yourself in an MX-5 next year?
I enjoy the Civic, but if someone wants to pay for me to drive the MX5, I'll do that.
Well, I don't blame you for enjoying the Civic. And Nicky Lines, Stuart Lines, if you're out there watching, I think the Civic's the best car ever. Please don't fire me. No, but it's brilliant to have you along, Max. Congratulations on the race victory. And, of course, race 3 and 4, not completely out the question either. You're going to be starting in 8th place in the next race. What do you think you can do from there?
Hopefully win. That's what I'm going to try to do anyway. But, I mean, I don't have the overall pace that these boys have. And this track's not the easiest to overtake on. So we'll just see what we can do.
Cracking stuff. Well, thanks very much for having a chat to us, Max. Anybody you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go?
Myself? I don't really know, to be fair. I haven't really thought about that question.
What about a certain Jeff Edmondson who's liked the channel?
Oh, well, yeah, my dad then.
There we go. Fantastic.
If anyone needs a car fixing, then go to him. Or painting or anything.
There we go. Fantastic shout out from you, Max. There you go. We'll give you a little bit more of a chance to think about it for the next one. Right, brilliant. Thank you for having a chat, and good luck for the next races.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll certainly have to think about that because it's not going to be the last time we're going to be speaking to him. I'm certain with that performance, he will be coming to the top step of the podium and the interview waiting room more times this season, I will guarantee. But we are having to switch over between the sessions now. The third race is already up and drivers are getting underway with practice. So I think, Jack, we will be gone for about 4 or so minutes and we'll be right back with all the action for race 3.
Welcome back, everybody, to the BSR MX5 trophy from Suzuka from round number 2, and we're about to go into race number 3 of the evening, which was a full, well, sorry, it's not a full reverse grid, it's an 8 reverse grid. We've only got about a minute to go before we actually get into the third race. Nice and quick, succinct, sort of intermission, shall we say. Ed, it's exactly what we like to see here from BSR.
Yeah, it is get the sessions up and moving quickly. The less downtime as possible means we can bring you all the action as quickly as possible. And what action we have been treated to indeed. Great to see Max Edmondson getting his first race victory at his first race meeting. It only took him 2 races and he's already been able to taste victory. But he had to work for it very hard, didn't he? Fighting his way up through the field. It was so close. Some of the moves he was put on and off. But I mean, credit to him. He made them stick.
He did indeed, yeah, and he held off some very quick and determined drivers in the likes of Jason Cooper and Adam Delmont, and it does help to have an Andy McEwen gnashing away at their heels as well and trying to take advantage of any sort of mistakes that they might make. It's a bit of a shame that we haven't seen McEwen quite so high up, but Luke Cooper will be on pole position, and he's already had one bite at the cherry from the front row of the grid, hasn't he, in race 1 this evening. Started in 2nd place behind Jason Cooper that time round, but this time he'll be on pole. Do you think that'll give him a little extra incentive to try again? Because it wasn't a good start off the line, if you remember.
No, it wasn't, but I think we're going to see a lot of different things in this race. Obviously, with an 8 reverse, it does move things around a little bit more, and maybe we will see maybe Jason Cooper fighting up through the field to get another victory. But then, of course, Adam Delmont just ahead of him, another driver, like we said, in the second race was one to watch, and he fought through the field brilliantly. Good look out for him. But here we go. Here's the grid. Luke Cooper, pole position with Huanji Lin alongside him. James Neve there in 3rd place, ahead of Lars Fischer in 4th. Andy McEwen is in 5th, ahead of Adam Delmont, with Jason Cooper and Max Edmondson making up the 4th row of the grid. Then we come down to James Clark and Dan Skinner, the prime driver, 10th place, rounding out the 5th row of the grid, with Adam McNally and Colin Sansom 11th and 12th. Rounding out the grid, drivers of Adam Fox and Chris Dixon there at the tail end of the field. But we're getting ready for the racing here. The lights are going on. We've timed this perfectly here. And will they get the start time perfectly here as Luke Cooper gets himself underway and gets a good getaway as well. James Neve starting nicely in behind, but not able to make up any places. As Huanji Lin got off the marks really nicely indeed, but cold tyres in towards the first corner. Driver's already struggling. Andy McEwen all the way around the outside with Adam Delmont up his inside. It's going to be then the outside for this left-hander. I think Andy is just able to hang on. Yes, he is. And then there's a bit of door banging in behind as Adam Delmont and Jason Cooper go toe-to-toe, sorting themselves out and continuing on in the order they started the race. Adam Delmont in 6th, Jameson Cooper there in 7th. Further back, Adam McNally had a good start, up 2 positions there ahead of James Clark and Dan Skinner. So we might be seeing Adam McNally finally getting to grips because he's been looking to struggle a little bit so far today here.
Yeah, he's been involved in incidents that haven't necessarily been his fault. They've just been he's been a bit of a victim of it. As Lynn goes, I thought he was going to go for a slowdown, actually. He's trying to go defensive, isn't he? Because Neve got a really good run, but I don't think it's, well, I do think it's going to be in vain. As he looks, yeah, he is defensive on the inside. Neve did have a really good amount of momentum, but I don't think it's going to be enough because it's pretty much a double apex, isn't it, for the first corner here at Suzuka. It's a very, very long first corner is essentially what a lot of people sort of feel it as, but it means that going around the outside really isn't that much of an option unless the driver on the inside is going particularly slowly. A lot of these cars and these drivers are far too good for that sort of mistake, shall we call it. So at the moment, Luke Cooper holds on to the lead. A much better start, give him credit where it's due, than he'd made in the first race.
Yeah, definitely, but it's not about how you start the races, it is how you finish. You know, Angie Lin is looking to finish nice and strongly here. If you can get ahead of Luke Cooper, we'll see what you can do in clear air. He's just set the fastest lap of the race, but that is quickly beaten by Max Edmondson there with a 58.381. Nicely done indeed. Huanji Lin actually having to brake early, so strong is the slipstream. He catches up to the back end of him and could theoretically start to make moves if he wants to. I mean, he might as well think about it because it's not like they're going to be breaking away from anyone anytime soon. James Neve is staying close behind, as is Lars Fischer. Andy McEwen as well, credit to him, keeping up with it. He's seemed to be better at the first phase of the race, and then as it goes on, maybe the tyres start to struggle a little bit, because so far, pace is looking good for Andy, even if he doesn't seem to like the car too much at the moment. But with Adam Delmont and Jason Cooper in behind, he may need to start defending sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I think your prediction is probably going to be correct, but my stat holds true for the time being. We had a top 8 reverse grid, and we are exactly the same as we started within the top 8. Cooper, Lynn, Neve, Fisher, McEwen, Delmont, Cooper, Edmondson. That is how we started, but it's all going to get mixed up now, because look, a little bit further back, look for the race lead, in fact. Cooper and Lynn going side by side. Lynn trying to go around the outside. Neve trying to take some kind of advantage as well. He might get away with it if they make contact, but no. And I was saying that it's very difficult to go around the outside of the first corner, because it's a very, very long corner, but Lynn has managed it with a little bit of a help by bumping Luke Cooper out the way just a touch, and that's caused a 3-wide event going through halfway through. That's the number 1 of Andy McEwen trying to fit his way on the inside. He backs out of it probably quite wisely, and Luke Cooper holds on to second. Lars Fischer, Andy McEwen make up the front of what is looking like a very much of a queue to get into third place. That's a big slide by Lars Fischer.
Oh my word, I thought he got spun around there. It looked for a moment that he had, but he managed to hold on to it. Amazing car control there, because that looked very sketchy for a second. And, well, he's actually up into 4th place, and I think Jason Cooper lost out. Yes, he has. He's all the way down the order. Something has happened to the championship leader here.
I will have a quick glance at my... yeah, he went off track, actually. And if there's ever a chance to have a look and a break in the action, I will do exactly that. But at the moment, they're filling out...
I think, Jack, your mic's been pulled for some reason. I think I can't quite hear you so well now. I'm not sure what has gone on there, but we will carry on nevertheless. I hope you can all hear me on the broadcast and that everything is fine. As we're watching Max Edmondson in behind James Neve, I think we might have a slight break that we can look at the incident. As soon as we get past turn 1, because Edmondson is under a lot of pressure now from Adam Delmont. Adam is going to look to the inside. He's going to be covered off here by Edmondson. So as they go into turn 1, right-hand kink will favour Edmondson. And again, the inside line, he kicks the tail out just a touch, but is able to hang on to 5th place. And hopefully everything's sorted again, Jack.
Can you hear me okay there?
Yes, I can.
Oh, brilliant. That's all right then, isn't it? Yes, I do apologise. I think I moved my phone or drink and it knocked the wire, which is far too temperamental for a couple of £100 microphone. Anyway, but we are back, so it's all good at the moment. And you're right. I think there is a very quick opportunity potentially to see exactly what happened to Jason Cooper very quickly, because I think it was during this sort of 3-wide melee.
This was where I thought Andy had been turned around, but it was actually more Jason Cooper that had to get onto the brakes to avoid it all. And I mean, that was a huge blow, but it was more damage limitation. He's still inside the top 10. He's still scoring points and will still probably be leading the championship afterwards, because if he was taken out the race and scored a big fat 0, that would be a massive blow.
Yeah, I think it's more to do with the fact that he probably loses 100% podium record, which I believe he still holds. I think he had 100% Laguna Seca. He's definitely had 100% so far here tonight. So I think that'll probably be the thing that annoys him most, is the fact that he's not on the podium every single race. But we can't count him out just yet. He's only in 9th place. There's 6.5 minutes gone. That means there's 7.5 minutes to go. Sorry, 8.5 minutes to go, actually, if my maths does not let me down. So yeah, plenty of time to carve through and try and catch up to his 2-year 5-star teammates.
Yep, you are right, though, about the 100% podium record. He has got onto the podium in every single race so far this season. We'll see if he can do it here tonight. Andy McEwen, on the flip side, has finished on the podium 2 races so far this season. He's looking to make it a 3rd as he's going all the way around the outside of Luke Cooper. He's so brave, so committed, and he's going to be able to hang it there or thereabouts and get the inside for the next corner. This left-hander, is he able to get it to stick, though? That's the real question, because again, drivers, they can hang it around the outside, they then get the inside for the next corner, but Andy holds him tight through that right-hander and then is able to managed to gain that position and get himself up into the podium places. All the while, though, they were battling. 5-Star Motorsport have been able to build a gap, and it's Wan Jilin ahead of Lars Fischer. Wan Jilin and Lars yet to win a race this season. I'm not sure if we're going to see any team orders here or not, because they are teammates, but of course, they both want their first race victory. As now Jason Cooper is on a bit more of a charge, up into 7th place after a setback that saw him down in 10th. Making quick progress, but not quick enough if he wants that podium. He needs to be a little bit faster now, but I'm sure Jason Cooper has that pace somewhere in his locker. It's all about trying to find it there as Adam Delmont is scrapping nice and close in behind him and could be a threat of losing out to his teammate there, Adam McNally, who actually I think taps the brakes to let him back through. So opting to be rear gunner is Adam McNally, and seeing if he can help his teammate Adam Delmont maybe to try and throw one back against Jason Cooper.
Yeah, I think Cooper overtook him on the start-finish straight, and then McNally tried to bump draft Delmont to try and maybe have
Edmondson
a little bit of
actually
go
got
with
ahead, sorry, of Luke Cooper as well throughout all of that.
Did indeed, yes. So, yeah, plenty of chopping and changing in the action. I think Edmondson actually might be under threat from Luke Cooper going across the start-finish line. McEwen getting a little bit of a gap, I'd say, in 3rd place, probably sitting relatively comfortable, especially if Cooper decides to throw one on Edmondson here. That would really help McEwen. The 2 5-star teammates are leading the way. Fischer from Lynn, I should say, actually. Pretty happy with their progress so far, I assume. And, yeah, just trying to work together to try and pull away.
At the moment, I'm watching the lap times coming through, and Lars Fischer and Han Jilin are working together brilliantly. They are pulling a gap just a little bit more to Andy McEwen, who's trying his very best to close that gap down and keep it in the fight. But when he's got the pressure being so strong from Max Edmondson in behind, it's very difficult to actually focus on getting the lap times in. You're more looking in behind you in your mirrors at all times just to see what the car behind is doing. I think that might allow those 2 drivers up ahead to start to clear a bit more of a gap, a bit more of a path, so that one of them will be able to win the race. Which one it will be is up for debate, as I think Lars Fischer's just gotten ahead of Wan Jilin there, so there might have been a bit of a change of position here. Yeah, and there might be yet another one here, as we see now Max Edmondson, the 33 car, going up into 3rd place ahead of Andy McEwen.
Yeah, I think the race lead actually changed a couple of laps ago, actually. So, yeah, Lars Fischer leading Lynn.
Having a look for, I think you might be right. I was just seeing though, Lars Fischer last lap was 0.6 faster than Wan Jilin, but that gap was about 0.2 as they crossed the line. So I think there had been a change of position on that last lap, and I feel like it might have been orchestrated.
Potentially, yeah, you're right, because Lars Fischer is higher up in the championship than Lynn is, and of course Lynn is probably accepting that the fact that he might be the 3rd driver. Jason Cooper, who's definitely the 1st driver in 5-star, it would appear anyway, struggling a little bit. He's not getting past Adam Delmont. He has got past Adam McNally. Adam Delmont's actually got passed through on Jason Cooper. My apologies, I actually got that the wrong way round. So yeah, really good, I think. We can see a very quick snippet. Actually, we don't really want to, because Luke Cooper and Andy McEwen are going side by side through the 1st corner. James Neave playing rear gunner, but not for too much longer, because the Excite car of Adam Delmont carves his way through. Katie Eames in the chat predicted that Delmont was flying tonight. You're absolutely right, Katie, and he's proving that in race 3 here today, he's doing exactly the same sort of heroics that he was doing in race 1 and 2. Jason Cooper trying everything to get past on James Neave, the other year 1 car. It's not quite working out just yet. The AM class is being led by Adam Fox in a year 1 machine, and of course Dan Skinner is leading the Pro-Am. We mustn't forget about those drivers, as we're 11.5 minutes into this 15-minute race.
Just watching now, Jason Cooper in behind James Neave. He's going to get a nice exit here as Neave runs a little bit wide onto the grass, and that's going to allow Jason Cooper a nice easy run, most likely up the inside in towards the 1st corner. But look at this, look at Andy McEwen's defense against Luke Cooper in towards the 1st corner. McEwen with the inside line. Again, the scrapping is allowing the driver ahead to clear away. Max Edmondson looking for back-to-back podiums. So far this season, he has been, well, he's only been here for 1 race, but so far tonight, he has been a real gem to watch. I mean, it's great to see all these different drivers emerge. I mean, 1st round, we saw Wan Jilin come into the championship and take it by storm, even though he didn't quite get the results he was hoping for. He had some great racecraft and ability that we've just been waiting to see if he can really sort of match the promise he's been showing. And so far, he's doing just that. As oh dear, big moment there. Several cars off, and that is a huge accident. Kick-started, I think, fairly needlessly, as they just seem to come into the back of one another a bit too much. Sort of taken into the corner, perhaps, and a refusal to slow down and not... I don't know. We'll see if we can have a look at that with a replay, because for me, it just seemed needless.
Yeah, I think it's the age-old argument, isn't it? I didn't expect you to go that slowly through that corner. And you can see Luke Cooper gets a little bit of a twitch on, and that does slow him up for the rest of the race. Oh, I'm going to have a look at this again, actually. He might already be losing it when it comes... I'm going to go look from the gearbox point of view. Now, Luke Cooper, I think... Yeah, there's a little wiggle there. There's a little wiggle there.
There's a wiggle, and then there's a tap, and then there's further tapping, I think, is what kickstarts it. If we see it maybe from the aerial chopper cam, maybe post-race, or maybe now, if we can get it in quickly. Play it now. Look for Luke Cooper. He has a bit of a twitch, but he manages to regain it. He's going to be tight to the inside line, so you expect the car to be slow through there. And I think it's more just down to Adam Delmont just pushing him through, pushing the rear around, unfortunately. He needs to realise that the car is going to be struggling. It's so tight into that final corner, it won't be carrying the same amount of speed that he will be able to, and I think he needs to be aware of that fact. And unfortunately, it just seemed to slip his mind a little bit. But in the heat of the moment, these things can, and I imagine the stewards might take that into account.
Yeah, well, the problem is you're driving as fast as you can. You're looking at the driver ahead. There is only really one line through that section of the track. You're also keeping an eye on the drivers behind. You're trying to go as quickly as possible whilst not running into the people in front. It is very difficult. I'm not saying that it's completely, it's terrible driving or anything like that, because at the end of the day, we are all amateur sim racers here. The mistakes are going to happen, and fingers crossed, like you said, the stewards maybe take that with a bit of a pinch of salt. It's probably down to a racing incident. If it was in the Formula 1, they probably wouldn't allow that, and they would probably be more of a punishment. But this isn't Formula 1, so it's...
But when a Formula 1 steward's ever got anything right...
No, that's very true.
We're much better here in BSR doing our own rulings and taking things with the idea that it's sim racing in mind, as we watch Jason Cooper trying to keep, for a moment there, Dan Skinner at bay, and Dan Skinner was very close to contact there, as we see two Excite drivers going side by side. But we are on to the final lap, and we will be waiting to see Lars Fischer and Huan Ji-Lin come across the line. Huan Ji-Lin's trying all he can do to get ahead of his teammate, looking left, looking right, but sadly not able to find a way past. He might go for a late apex and hopefully have the run, but because of how quickly the checkered flag will greet Lars Fischer, he will take his first race victory of the season and make it a 5-star 1-2 with Huan Ji-Lin just behind him in second place. Max Edmondson making up 5 positions from his race starting place to make it a second podium of the evening and of his debut race meeting. And then Andy McEwen with another strong finish there, 4th place. Not necessarily a podium that he was hoping for, but good points nevertheless. While his championship rival and this season's championship leader, Jason Cooper, struggling and finishing down in 7th place. To watch Colin Sanson with a lot of damage there, having to bring a wounded car back to the pits, and I have no idea where he picked up that damage from, because it's a strange place to get it on that left-hand side.
Yes, we're actually having a look at... Now, this is the last crash that I've found. Actually, I believe he probably got it in amongst all the other action. Let's have a very quick look at this one. His car's more together there. Although it's not together at all in terms of handling, is it? And that's a very bit of a strange way to go off, but it's just the rear end just losing out, and unfortunately, come on, Sam. So he does finish with the reverse grid chance, though, doesn't he? So let's bring up the RNG.
Let us have a look. 3 wheels on his wagon, but will Colin Sanson be finding himself up on reverse grid pole position? He finished in 12th place.
So we'll go with 6 and 14 as per usual. Remember, though, it's only drivers who are on the lead lap that are eligible. Hit the generate, and it is 12. So, if you've got a good memory of about 30 seconds ago, you will remember that a driver that we were just talking about will be on pole position, won't he, Ed? And that's very exciting for him. You can bring us the rest of the results.
Thank you very much. Yes, we will see that Lars Fischer has won his first race of the season so far, ahead of his teammate Huan Ji Lin. Max Edmondson there with another good result, bagging his second podium of the evening. Daniel McEwen there just missing out on the podium celebrations in fourth place. James Neve there in fifth, ahead of James Clark. Winning the Battle of the Jameses there was Neve that time around, but they've been inseparable all evening long. I'm fairly certain that we'll see those two scrap it out yet more. Maybe ahead of Jason Cooper, who's in seventh place. Dan Skinner there, Pro-Am winner, class of his own yet again. There in eighth place, ahead of Adam McNally and Adam Delmont, who was in the wars quite substantially there. We saw that moment between him and Luke Cooper going through the final corner on one of the later laps. And we have Colin Sansom there, 12th place, reverse grid, pole position, ahead of 13th placed Adam Fox, who finished 2 laps down and scores no points, as well as Chris Dixon scoring no points, who finishes 5 laps down. But Jack, let's have a look to see if we have any drivers opting to come and have a chat with us in the waiting room. I don't see any, so we will quickly go, I think, to another break, but we have a final race, and it is, for all intents and purposes, a full reverse. And we love that, Jack, because it gives us that extra bit of spice, doesn't it?
It's about that time, ladies and gentlemen, that I welcome you back for what will be the final time this evening to round 2 of the BSR MX5 trophy, hosted here at virtual Suzuka. And it's been 3 races that have been fairly full on, haven't they? Plenty of drama, I would say, especially in race number 2 and 3, Ed. That last one, well, is particularly interesting when it came to the end of the race, when we saw an enforced spin, shall we call it. Luke Cooper ended up turning the wrong way round due to a potential little bit of contact, and that really did throw the cat amongst the pigeons. A lot of drivers really suffered from that.
Yeah, it was, but I mean, we've got a full reverse, another relatively big reverse for the size of the grid we have, and I wonder what chaos and carnage we'll see in the final race. Of course, like you said, there was that incident that saw a lot of drivers suffer, but hopefully we'll see it nice and clean, because it has been really quite amazingly clean so far tonight, really. If you sort of get that one lap of that third race out of your mind, it has been absolutely brilliant. We've seen some sort of moves that I think made a few people unhappy. I mean, Max Edmondson with a bit of weaving in that second race, but he basically only did it once and realised that's probably not right. Got his head down and carried on, and I mean, he's been a real breath of fresh air.
He has been, yeah. He's definitely sort of gave everybody a little bit to think about. Let's put it that way. Colin Sampson is on pole position. Then he won the AM class in the previous race without half of his car attached at the end. Hopefully his car has been fully attached, because he starts on pole. Luke Cooper, for the 3rd time tonight, will start from the front row, and for the 2nd time tonight, will start from 2nd place. Adam Delmont on 3rd. He's finished 3rd a fair few times so far this evening. Adam McNally was in 4th. Dan Skinner will start in 5th as the only Pro-Am runner. Jason Cooper in 6th. Look out for him. James Clark, James Neve 7th and 8th. Andy McEwen and 9th, with Max Edmondson in 10th. Lynn in 11th, with Lars Fisher in 12th. I've got to do this very quickly, as Chris Dixon rounds out the field in 13th place, meaning we have, unfortunately, lost one runner, but the runner we haven't lost is Colin Sampson. I believe it's Adam Fox. Unfortunately, hasn't joined us, because we now only have 2 AM class runners, which is a bit of a shame. Colin Sampson at one end of the field, Chris Dixon, I think, in the pit lane, actually, not even taking part. The lights are coming on, though. The engine notes are rising, and for the final time tonight here at Suzuka, we are racing with Colin Sampson leading the way, and it's a semi-decent start from the AM class driver, to be fair. Luke Cooper, who hasn't been particularly brilliant at his race starts so far this evening, is going to get swallowed up potentially by the 77 of Adam Delmont. No, in fact, it's a trick of the camera, because he goes for the race lead straight away. Maybe a little bit of an early break there from Colin Sampson, opening the door just a touch to allow the Swift Cooper racing car and the Excite machine to go through into 1st and 2nd. So it's Cooper from Delmont, and I'll have to say, Ed, you'd be a brave man to bet against Adam Delmont and the way he's been driving tonight, and you'd have to be a pretty harsh man to say that he doesn't deserve a race victory, because he's been absolutely flying, and if probably any of the drivers out there deserve a race win, it's the Excite number 77. Oh, it's the Excite number 17 gets spun round. Dan Skinner, he is the only Pro-Am runner, so as long as he keeps it going, he will take a victory. But it's probably not the way he was hoping it would happen, as Jason Cooper and the number 1 of Andy McEwen, such rivals last year, maybe not so much this year, and Andy McEwen's own admission. But it's going to be very interesting to see how this one plays out, because McEwen looks like he's going slightly offensive, as does Adam Delmont.
Yeah, he does, but he's not quite got alongside. Oh, but these two have history as well, and that was what I was going to touch on, and they have contact yet again. Luke Cooper touching Adam Delmont. I don't know if there was anywhere Adam Delmont could really do. He can't disappear, and oh my word, phasing through the rear end of Luke Cooper was Colin Sampson, who's doing very good for an AM driver to be up there, still mixing it up there and not dropping too far back from the race leaders. But soon he will be swallowed up by the chasing pack of cars, as McEwen is still going side by side with Jason Cooper, this time losing out and slotting in behind into 6th place. And then we do have, of course, battle of the Jameses, James Neve versus James Clark. Those two scrapping away for 9th place. You can see them there in your screens, the year 1 driver James Neve, then in behind James Clark for Swift Cooper. And those two have been close all evening long. That's another fight that I'm really quite excited to do. It's not a fight for sort of the lead of the race or a podium, but it's a nice close sort of name battle, which is always a thing. Whenever I'm with another Ed in a series, I always have to be the quickest.
Yes, it's a point of personal pride, isn't it, at that point?
Yeah.
You want to make sure that you're the standout Ed. Well, you're the standout James. Adam McNally, though, wants to be the standout Excite driver. He feels like he's been pushed out of that reign for the time being anyway here at Suzuka, and he's not able to get past Andy McEwen. I believe Jason Cooper got through on him as well. Hasn't really been his night. Adam McNally has had a few too many incidents, and it looks like he's potentially getting his elbows out a little bit too much here early on with Andy McEwen in the 4th race of the evening. He's got Max Edmondson hunkered up behind him, a driver that we've mentioned quite a few times already so far this evening. Brand new to the championship. If you haven't been here, he's already got 2 podiums, 3rd in race number 3 and a 1st in race number 2, so he's doing quite well, is Mr. Edmondson, and he's in the slipstream now of Adam McNally. It looks like he might be interested in going for a move, as I believe one of the 967 of Colin Sampson, who still runs in 3rd place, is trying to get into the draft of the top 2, Adam Delmont and Luke Cooper. 33 of Edmondson looked up the inside. Was that enough to just put the 78 off? No, not quite. He holds on to his position for the time being.
Yeah, for the time being, though, is the key point here, because so many times we've seen positions change and chop around here. Just watching, though, Jason Cooper, he's got a big turn of pace, and he's going to, you would imagine, quickly dispatch of Colin Sansom and then be right up there with Luke Cooper and Adam Delmont. He could still win another race tonight. Let's not forget how quick Jason Cooper is. As Andy McEwen, he's left the door wide open there for Adam McNally to try and find a way, and Andy McEwen is going to be forced all the way around the outside. With a good run, though, might be able to get his nose ahead into the braking zone. This is side by side. Look how close they are together as further in front. Well, Jason Cooper going for the move up the inside for 3rd place. Likely to get it done. Not too many quarrels about that, but there is a quarrel about this one. Again, Andy McEwen trying to hang it around the outside, but sadly just going a little bit too hot into the corner, losing out almost again to the 33 of Edmondson, who has to try and find a way to slot in behind ahead of Lars Fischer without getting overtaken himself, and he just about manage it. But that's the thing, as soon as you get forced offline, like you said earlier, Jack, about the sort of cadet style karting, if you get forced out, you can suddenly get swamped and forced all the way back through that huge train of cars.
Yeah, I think we had a chat to Max Edmondson actually before, didn't we? And he said it was very difficult to overtake around here. There is pretty much only one line. If you go offline to overtake, you're going to end up losing 5 positions if you don't make it stick. And it's exactly what we're seeing from a few drivers, unfortunately, as James Clark and James Neve. I think that's a slowdown for James Neve, potentially, because he's losing an awful lot of places. And, well, I say an awful lot of places. It was 2 places, but it was James Clark and Lynn. And more to the point, he's lost a lot of track positioning. He's not able to sort of respond to either of those drivers overtaking him. But yes, there's pretty much one line through the majority of this racetrack. You really have to wait until the driver ahead of you makes a mistake, which isn't all that uncommon, as Adam McNally very much goes to prove it. Jason Cooper, who's normally impenetrable, he doesn't make mistakes, is Jason Cooper. He's made one there. Not entirely sure we'll be able to see a replay of it, but we definitely saw his car going sideways, which normally means the rear end was a little bit loose.
You need to have it loose, and that's the trade-off. You have to have that little bit of looseness at the rear to get that extra rotation and keep the sort of car nice and nimble through the direction change. Here we go. This is a replay of what happened, and it's just the smallest of taps, and he has to save it. He saves it brilliantly, to give him credit. And he does the right thing, staying over onto the right-hand side of the circuit, blending into the pack sensibly as well. But then, all of a sudden, finds himself way back in this fight, and that could be a mistake that costs him the chance to fight for the race victory here. As, oh my word, there's side by side Noah's arcing their way almost there, as Colin Sansom going 2 by 2 with Adam McNally, Andy McEwen going side by side with Max Edmondson, and it is Max that ends up taking that position in the end. How many times have we seen a 33 car driven by Max with those level of overtakes before? It's a little bit deja vu. Slinging the rear end out and trying to carry his way through that final corner to get a move on. Colin Sansom setting it up nice and early, but again, the rear is very loose there.
Yeah, it's like he's got suspension damage about how wide that rear end is moving about, isn't it? It's quite incredible, really. Jason Cooper versus Andy McEwen. This is take 2 from about 5 minutes ago, wasn't it? Dan, thank you very much for the share on the stream. Pleasure to have you along. As Max is finding it a pleasure to be along as well in this particular BSR Championship, isn't he? I think he's going to stick around because I'm hoping he's enjoyed himself this evening so far. McEwen was able to hold off Jason Cooper for the time being. Lars Fisher is there, though, to help play rear gunner if he can, anyway. Wan Chi Lin has only got James Clark in between him and the rest of his teammates. And so he'll be hoping to carve through him and then make it a 3-horse battle, charging through to the rest of the field. Adam Delmont still leads the way from Luke Cooper. There was about a 2/10 gap at one point. It's now up to 7.5. So I don't think... oh, big moment there for Colin Sansom. And that's a copy and paste repeat of what he did last race.
It is. I mean, it's so difficult, obviously, to hold these cars because you need to have them so loose. But Colin Sansom, yet again, just struggling a little bit. Andy McEwen, Jason Cooper, these two, well, again, like you said it, how many times have we seen these two fight it through the seasons? Andy with the inside line is able to carry the speed through, but Jason Cooper forcing him tight. He's going to struggle to be able to carry the momentum into the second phase of the first corner. Will be held around the outside. If he can brave it out, he'll be able to maybe hang away through, but no, Jason Cooper just bouncing over the curves. It chucks him forwards across the path of Andy McEwen, who can't fight it anymore, has to slot in behind in 6th place. But then all of a sudden Jason Cooper will find himself in the vulnerable position of being up ahead and not having a car to slipstream off of.
Yeah, I think he will catch up to the likes of McNally and Edmondson, though, because they're going to fight it at some point, aren't they? Probably by the
I mean, they already are.
Yeah, exactly. By the first corner, those guys will be going side by side, I'm sure. And you do get the impression that this season, Jason Cooper, we should start calling him Erling Haaland, really, because he is inevitable. It doesn't matter what race he's going to pop up in. He's going to make moves. He's going to do what he does best. And he's going to get through the order, isn't he? And that's exactly what he's proving here today. Even when he gets knockbacks, he's still able to carve his way through. As Lynn carves his way through on Clark. Not been the best evening for Lynn. Not been a particularly terrible one, to be fair. It's just not really been eye-catching. And quite often that means that it's not really been the best. But I suppose that does mean you can be consistent, at least, at the same time. The Battle of the Jameses is going nicely, but we're going to focus on year 1 driver of Andy McEwen trying to hold off the rest of the 5-star ensemble.
Let's watch this out because he's going to be under a lot of pressure. He's already had to deal with one. He's going to be sick of the sight of that paint job in behind him. He's already had to deal with it once before this race with Jason Cooper and seen him pass him, and now he's thinking, I'm not going to let any more of you pass. I'm sick to death with you.
I think, to be fair, he'd rather be seeing the paint job behind him than in front of him, though, wouldn't he?
Yeah, I suppose that is a very, very good point you raised there, as I think we just seen at the front of the shot there, Adam Delmont and Luke Cooper scrapping away, but we will watch Max Edmondson and Adam McNally go at it, hammer and tongs into the first corner, and look at how tight Adam McNally is forcing Max Edmondson to go. A little bit of a drift as well in his offence, but then all of a sudden, with the inside line, that will then turn to be the outside line. He'll struggle to keep his nose alongside, but he does just about, and he's forced wide, and, well, that was coming a mile off. I think Adam McNally was not given the space, sadly, by Max Edmondson. And we'll have a look at it here, but I think we'll see. Adam McNally does have his nose around the outside. He wasn't given the space, and, well, that was always going to happen. I think that's probably 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. It's on to Adam McNally to rejoin maybe safer than how he did, but it's also put there by Max Edmondson, I feel, and both of them end up taking each other out of the equation for that 3rd place finish.
Yeah, a bit of a shame that's how that battle ended up finishing, wasn't it? Which, I mean, like you said, I think Edmondson probably could have given him a lot more room, and I think potentially Delmont, was it? Sorry, McNally.
It was McNally.
McNally potentially probably could have read the situation better and saw that gap was always going to close with the way that Edmondson had been driving. And so I'm sure they'll both probably be launching a protest. And, well, I wouldn't want to be a steward, put it that way, because you're going to annoy one of the drivers. If not both of them, if you decide to do nothing. So it's, yeah, a bit of a difficult job, I would say, to be a bit of a steward, which is why in the commentary box, we never try and give them a hard time. Yeah. It's always a little bit difficult.
We've got the easy job.
Exactly. We just commentate and then sign off for the week and ignore all the hateful messages we get. No, I'm kidding. We don't get any hateful.
I'll tell you what, as well, it's a much easier job when we have great action like this to commentate over. It's a lot harder when we have dreary action and not much going on, but even with only 12 cars circulating the circuit at the moment, we've had some excellent battles, and we continue to have exactly that as Andy McEwen Look at that. Look how defensive he's going. He's way over onto the right-hand side of the circuit there to try and keep Lars Fischer at bay. But look at that. Amazing stuff from Lars. But he goes too hot. I thought he had it, but it was just too much speed taken into the right-hand kink. And then through turn 2, Andy McEwen is able to regain that 4th place. The driver that was number 4 last season, but sporting the number 1 this season on account of his championship victory. Actually still sporting the number 4 on his car there. You can see there as it comes around, he still has the number 4 there on that left rear quarter. That might be something for the paint shop boys year 1 to try and remedy.
Yes, I think somebody's going to get a Discord
oh
message
dear,
that
dear.
he
His
pointed
teammates
out.
just had a moment, and I think that is James Neve losing out in the battle of the Jameses through that final corner. I'm not sure if there was a tag or not. It looked like it might have just been a spin by himself. We might be able to have a look at it here if these 5-star cars aren't going to battle, which they aren't because they are teammates. So I think we can have a look to see what happened to James Neve here.
I would love to, but there is nothing that came up because James Neve,
Oh.
if he span, it wasn't a crash, or wasn't big enough to be a crash, and he's got back going, so he hasn't been overtaken by anybody. So yeah, James Neve, if he did spot that correctly, it just had a bit of a moment, but hasn't really had any problems with it.
I think it might have been that he got caught out by that bump that you mentioned. You were talking about it on that final corner. I think that might have unsettled the car just a touch, got on the power a bit too early, and that saw him loop it all the way around.
Yeah, well, you know, Ed, yeah, what is it that Andy always says? It's a broken clock is right twice a day, and you know, every so often, there's a nugget in there. Oh, who's that chopping the grass? It's number 900, Chris Dixon decided to get.
You're not a broken clock, mate. You're on it all the time, and if you are a broken clock, then be a broken Rolex. That's my thinking.
Well, exactly. If you're going to do it right. You know, do it properly.
Exactly.
Lars Fischer looking to do it right and do it properly on Andy McEwen this time round, though. Take 2 round the outside in the last minute of this race. This would probably be the penultimate lap, I imagine, actually, because Adam Delmont's already halfway through this particular lap, and he's still got 50 seconds to go. McEwen going to the left-hand side to try and cover off the inside. This is going to put him right off the racing line, isn't it? This is easily the closest battle that we've got out there on circuit, ladies and gentlemen. We're not just trying to hook onto Lars Fischer because we don't want to see anybody else. This is the closest battle that we've got, and so we're going to try and take it to the line. We'll obviously have a watch of Adam Delmont cross the line in about a minute and a half's time. McEwen goes very wide and over that sort of right-hand side apex. He doesn't get the bump. That means he doesn't ruin his run, and more importantly, there's a little bit of a bump there.
He's going to get
by Lars
up here.
Fischer, but a really good slipstream could see McEwen being a bit of a sitting duck, I reckon. We're on to the final lap of the race. Adam Delmont has set a 58.9 to start it, and it looks like Lars Fischer giving the slipstream to his teammate just behind it. I believe that's Lynn, isn't it? And it's squeezing McEwen right to the inside. McEwen had to go on the brakes really early, and it looks like the 5-star teammates are going to have not one, but potentially 2 of them go past the one car.
And he's still in with the shot if he can hang it around the outside and get the inside line to force Lars Fischer wide, which he doesn't. But all the way through that final sector, Andy was very out of shape, and that manifested in that final corner and that brilliant run in comparison that Lars Fischer is able to get as a result. Saw him coming through, but the checkered flag is waving, and it will greet Adam Delmont. He's coming out of the final corner now. He's been looking quick all evening long and is going to finally get a race victory for his efforts. His first one of the season as well, as he takes the checkered flag. Well-deserved victory there for Adam Delmont. Luke Cooper there in second place with Jason Cooper a bit out of the way. Nice and incognito performance. I think he'll be pleased to come through with a 3rd place finish after the dramas that he was involved in that 3rd race. Lars Fischer in 4th in the late move around the outside of Andy McEwen into the first quarter to seal the deal there. And Andy was at risk of losing out to Wanji Lin there, but was able to hang on to 5th place. Wanji Lin settling for 6th in the end. And Battle of the Jameses, the final race of the evening, going the way of James Clark with James Neve. That late moment putting to bed any chances of getting any bragging rights and finishing down there in 8th place.
Yeah, that's 4th race really did sum up what was we've enjoyed so much about the BSR MX5 here at Suzuka. And in fact, Chris Dixon is still getting laps by cars that have finished the race by now, and they're going into the pit lane. It doesn't help that he's got a left front suspension damage. Very much reminds me of Colin Sansom finishing the last race. But as soon as Chris Dixon does cross the line, we'll be able to bring you the confirmation of the race results. And there we go. We are able to do that now. Adam Delmont then taking the race victory by 1.2 seconds ahead of Luke Cooper. Had a bit of an up and down evening by starting at the front. He's had enough opportunities to get that podium, and he finally does it. Jason Cooper ended up in 3rd place, another podium to his name after, again, what was a bit of an up and down race, but at the end of the day, on the podium, can't complain too much. Lars Fischer was in 4th. He eventually got the better of Andy McEwen, but they had a good long battle for about 5 minutes there. Lynn couldn't quite get the job done on McEwen. He ended up in 6th, with James Clark in 7th place, as Ed mentioned, he won the Battle of the Jameses. James Neve ended up in 8th. Max Edmondson rounded out what would probably be a quite enjoyable first evening of racing here at the BSR MX5 Trophy. Even if he did get turned around in the final race, he finished in 9th. Dan Skinner took the Pro-Am victory, as he has done for the previous 3 races, or 4 races this evening, I should say. Colin Samson took the Am victory in 11th place, with Chris Dixon lap down in the end in 12th, and Adam McNally, unfortunately, who I believe was the driver that got entangled with Max Edmondson, he finished 6 laps down in 13th place, and I think it's safe to say it was a night to forget for him, Ed.
Yep, I think sadly so, but nevertheless, we did have some great races that gave it a night to remember, nonetheless, for Adam Delmont, who was in the wars in race 3, but managed to fight back brilliantly to take the victory and the accolades that come with it in the 4th and final race of the evening. I wonder if he or any other drivers are waiting in the wings in the waiting room to have a chat with us. I'm not seeing any yet, Jack, but we will give them a little bit more time to come through after an intense evening's worth of racing. Maybe they want just to cool off for a minute before they hop in.
Yeah, well, it's always quite important, that, isn't it? If you're a racing driver, you've got to be able to decompress. You quite often see Formula 1 drivers and other, like BTCC and other championships like that. They've got to have a decompress, a bit of a celebration potentially with the team, and then all of a sudden they can compose themselves and come in for an interview with the media. Because at the end of the day, we are those damn medias now, aren't we?
Yeah,
get in the way.
Exactly. Nothing worse than when you get out of a race car, you're all hot and sweaty, you're stressed out, and then someone with a big fluffy microphone shoves it in your mouth and tells you to talk to them. It's absolutely horrendous, and I'm sure you've been that person more times than not, Jack, but we have to do our jobs, of course, and it's always best to get to talk to the drivers just as soon as they got that car, because that's usually when you get those spicy comments that are always a bit entertaining. Sadly, though, of course, we can't force drivers to have a talk with us. We have to wait for them to come to us in the wonderful world of sim racing. So on the other hand, it does give us the benefit of making sure that drivers are a bit more cooler and at least nothing unbroadcastable gets mentioned.
Yeah, I remember, I think, because obviously I've been on both sides of real-life interviews now, which I'm very honoured to have been. But I remember one that sort of sticks out in my mind is I got a podium as a driver. I got a podium at Brands Hatch. I think I came 2nd or 3rd. It definitely wasn't a race win anyway. That's that much I can remember. And got given a bottle of champagne, as you do, and couldn't quite make it sort of pop. I didn't know how to fizz up champagne and spray the champagne back then. And I remember Alan Hyde was going to make some interviews and everything like that. And as I was 3rd, I was the first driver that he wanted to have a chat to. And couldn't make the champagne pop. I was like, the cork was half out, but, it was like, all right, fine, Alan wants to have an interview. Put the bottle down, looking at it directly below my face. As I pop the bottle down, the cork pops and explodes into my face. And it cuts my lip in the process. Got a massive lip, cut, blood spewing out everywhere. And what does Alan Hyde do? He comes up to me and goes, "So how was that race, Jack?" And sticks a microphone in my face as I'm spewing blood out of my mouth. It was, it was one of the more awkward times that I had to do an interview. But hopefully, that won't happen to any of our sim races. Mainly because, one, they might not have champagne. They might do at their homes. But two, nobody's coming to have a chat to us, Ed.
No, sadly not. So I think it is sadly time for us to wrap up. But, well, we've had some excellent races. I mean, who's been your star of the night? Of course, it's got to be probably a two-way tie between Max Edmondson and maybe even Adam Delmont.
Yeah, I was going to say those drivers were definitely two standouts. I think Edmondson, I mean, I knew him anyway. I knew the name anyway, sort of thing. So I was expecting him to be quick, but a lot of drivers probably weren't expecting him to be quite as quick. And I definitely wasn't expecting him to be quite as quick in the real-world drive MX-5s, even though I know he's quite quick on AC, but I didn't know how quick he was on iRacing. Adam Delmont, though, really pushed forward. Very, very much impressive for me. Yeah, he definitely was a driver that I didn't necessarily put money on for this beginning of this evening, but showed that he's got quality, he's got class, and if he can hook it up, he can really push forward and be a championship contender. So my probably star driver would honestly be Adam Delmont, and I'd like to see Max Edmondson repeat the feats a little bit more often and potentially even get a little bit quicker on the one-lap pace as well. What about you?
Yeah, I think also one thing I want to see more of is Wanji Lin, is seeing if he can try and build on that pace that we've seen him start to grow a little bit more and more throughout the races. I mean, he's dropped back a little bit, I think, from the pace that we saw at Laguna Seca, but we go to a much different circuit in the Donington Park GP layout compared to, of course, Suzuka. It's a lot more undulations at the wonderful Donington Park circuit. Circuit that I'm sure you'll have very fond memories of, Jack. I seem to remember you having some fun times in your Ginettas around there.
Oh, yes. Everybody remembers the crashes and everything like that, which I'm sure is what you're alluding to, but they never remember the fact that I won the next race by 8 seconds and set a lap record. But I'm not here to brag. I'm just here to sign off the stream, I think, because no one is coming to have a chat to us. But yes, you can catch all the action next week from Donington Park, the BSR MX5 Trophy for round 3 here on Jacko Racing. And thank you very much for tuning in and watching, commenting, liking, subscribing, sharing, or even silently sat there judging us as commentators and, of course, the racing drivers themselves. It's been an absolute pleasure to be your host. It's been a pleasure to have Ed May alongside with me as well. And remember to like and subscribe and do all those things you need to do to be sure you're back next Tuesday at 5 to 8 for more BSR MX5 action.